Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Anneke's Quest, and my name is Anneke. In today's episode, what I'm wearing, finished object, what I'm working on, and what's going to happen in the near future. It is 7 o'clock in the morning. I have been getting used to getting up quite early lately, which is fine, absolutely fine. I'm normally a morning person, but ever since the dogs passed away, I've been sleeping in longer and longer and longer. But yeah, I'm back to getting up at 4:30 at this moment in time, and in 2 weeks' time it will be even earlier, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. So, what am I wearing? I'm wearing my chestnut brown sweater, and on top of that I'm wearing a scarf that has seen many iterations. This is the current iteration. It's hand spun wool from my parents' sheep, spun by my dad and me, and it's edged with again, hand spun yarn by my dad and me, just different sheep. I'm still not quite happy with the iteration it is in, so I might rip it back again, but at the moment it's there. It's held together with a clasp. I'll take the clasp out, otherwise I have to stand up. And the clasp is appropriate for medieval times. It's also the reason why I knit this the way I knit it, because in the time period that I reenact in the summer is the Middle Ages, from 1350 to 1415. I know, very specific. And they did know how to knit at the time. Up till now, my research goes as in, did they know how to purl? Yes, no, yes, no. So there's no purling in this. It's only knit up and down and up and down. Would they have knitted such big pieces? They knew how to do it, but the jury is out if that's only the guilds who knew how to do that, or whether the common people also knew how to do that. Anyway, that's a different story. At the moment I'm wearing it. As you can see, I don't really like this, so if I'm going to rip it back and do it again, I will go for a similar construction, but then with increases on the top, so it folds around my shoulders rather than me having to fiddle with it. So far so good for what I'm wearing. Finished object. That's my finished object. It's a scarf, basically a similar construction as what I'm wearing. I will take it off the mannequin. One moment. That took a while. So it's a very long scarf for my daughter. Sorry, I should be talking to the camera. It's a very long scarf for my daughter. It's over 3 meters. Anyway, you get the gist. So the story behind it is that in the autumn she had to go to New York, and it was cold in New York. She had to do something with the Harry Potter Forbidden Forest immersive experience. So she had to be outside for a whole week in New York, and it was cold. So she was knitting herself a scarf. And bless her cotton socks, she knows how to knit, but there's not much speed in it. And she was busy as well, because she, when she started her project, She was setting up the British Harry Potter, the Forbidden Forest experience. So she was working a lot and did not have a lot of time to knit. Which is where I said, okay, well, you know what, I'll knit you a scarf. And she's a huge Harry Potter fan, and her house is Hufflepuff, which would be the yellow one. But yellow next to her skin or next to my skin, doesn't matter, that's that's not a good idea. So I incorporated the dark grey, which is also from Hufflepuff, and a little bit of the red to kind of give it a bit of a pop, and to yeah, just generally it looked better with a bit of red. Anyway, so I started knitting the scarf, and I knitted it, and I washed it and laid it out to dry before I went to see her. When was it? Halfway October in Great Britain. But it wasn't finished. I do have to say that with washing, where's my yellow? With washing, and I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but the grey, there was so much dye coming off the grey that it made the yellow less yellow. Yes, you can see. So that's a bit murky now, which is a shame, because it looked really beautiful, and yeah, less beautiful now. Anyway, so the way this scarf is constructed with all those stripes means that all those stripes also would come next to the skin, and I didn't really like that. So at the time already I started knitting a wide band that I could add to the side that would be around her face. And can't remember when I picked up the scarf. She did take it with her to New York. I don't know if she's been wearing it, because she does run quite hot. But anyway, at some point in time I got the scarf back so I could add this band to it. So I finished it. This is a double layer, so it's extra wide band, and I just stitched it. I don't even know, you know, the stitches varied to wherever I was in the pattern. The pointy bit, I did put a bit of scarf inside, because there's a bit of a pointy bit to it, and I didn't like it, so it's more straight now. Anyway, it's finished. I tagged it on one side. Well, tagged it on. I've sewn it on by hand, one side, then turned it around and did the other side. I even like the inside better. Anyway, and the idea was to do it in a rib, so it would kind of cinch in a bit, kinch in a bit. I don't know how to say that. But after washing this grey band, it grew a bit, so it's doing a little bit less of that. But overall, it's finished now, and I can go and hand it over or send it by post, because I won't be seeing her for another 2 weeks at least, because I've got other stuff going on. So it may be best to send it by Royal Mail. So that's my finished object, my daughter's scarf. So, oh, and the yarn I've used. It's Heritage, it's classic DK, It's wool rich. It is 55% wool, which is less than I really wanted to, but at the time in the shop those were the only colours that fitted the bill that had at least some wool in it. So hence this particular yarn. There you go, finished object. What am I working on? You may remember the squares I'm knitting, because I've got a lot of a certain type of wool, didn't quite know what to do with it. Look back at previous episodes, I decided to create garments. So I went from a test knit for a summer top to making squares for a blanket to going like, ooh, actually this is quite nice. What about if I make a series of garments inspired by Molly Weasley from the Harry Potter series, the sweaters she knits for the children every year. So off I went. Got myself more yarn, tried a couple of things, and I will start with a thing that is a definite no. So in my color palette, there should be a blue that suits my skin. And this is not quite it. But I had a cunning plan. I thought, if I get myself some sock yarn that is variegated, that goes with that, but is warmer in tone, then the whole thing will be warmer and happy days. So I got myself this yarn, and I will have to look it up. I honestly don't know. I don't know where the band of this yarn is. In real life, it's beautiful. Well, actually on camera it's beautiful as well. It's got a lot of the colors that suit me. It even has the color this color in here. It's very close. It is really very close. Anyway, I started knitting it together and I thought, let's be adventurous. Let's do a top-down sweater. And I started knitting. And I have never had this before. It hurts my eyes. It even hurts my teeth for some. I cannot express how not me this color is, and it should work. It should work. It just doesn't. And I wanted to show you, because in itself there's nothing wrong with this. It is. If I say it is what I envisaged, then that's not true, because it hurts to look at it. So it's not quite what I envisaged, but as idea it's what I envisaged. But it's so wrong on so many levels for me, for my, to my eye. And how can it be that it hurts my eyes and it even hurts my teeth looking at this? That does not make sense. If anyone has ever experienced that again as well, sorry, not again, but as well, please let me know in the comments, because to me it doesn't make sense. But it is what it is, and therefore I am going to rip it out. I still don't know what I'm going to do with this yarn. I've got various colors of blue. So I was thinking maybe I should do a kind of blue blanket, with squares. But yeah, I don't know. I have no words to express what is wrong with this. I really love this yarn. And again, it should work, but it doesn't. It doesn't. And I did make some smaller videos along the way over the past 2 weeks. And this might feature in one of them as well. I don't know. But it's just... Yeah, let's put it aside because it's not it. And I don't really know what else to say about it. Because it makes me, ugh, yeah. And it's so weird because I do love it. Anneke, stop it. Just move on. Good. So, back to what I then would have thought. Okay, let's go back to my comfort zone. Let's go back to the things that I know I like, which is brown. And brown with various different speckled yarn. There's a storm raging outside and it's a bit scary, I have to say. Anyway, so I then went and tried to do the same with dark brown. So I tried to find a matching yarn to the dark brown so I could at least have a sweater in dark brown with speckles and I would be happy. Yeah. Again, this yarn, beautiful yarn, lots of lovely colours, and it should go with me. Not quite, I'm not really sure about it. Sorry, not in front of my mouth. I'm not really sure about the top one. Then there was an orange one, which is way too orange for this brown. And then I also had greenish yarn, and for the green all the beautiful colors fade away in the brown, and what I'm left with in the speckly bit is mint. I don't like mint. I am so bad at choosing colors together. I can do it as whole balls when I see them in real time, to gather colors that way. But mixing things up like this, zigzag, very, very bad at it. And it seems as if everything that I think is beautiful in whichever of those yarns, it drops away and I'm left with the bits that I don't like. That's not good. That's not good. So this one, the brown one, the dark brown one, of which I know that I have quite a few balls of dark brown. The jury is out. I will come up with something, and if not, I can always put it in the blanket. But it would be nice to have a dark brown speckled one that suits me. Would be nice. Anyway, so I'm parking this for the time being until the moment that I've got that I go like, yes, that's the combination. Or who knows, maybe I'm going to do something completely different with the yarn. That's possible as well. So, rewind. When I went to the shop for the speckled yarn, I ended up with lots of yarn, all different colors, because it was I think end of season sale, so there was a big basket and I picked out the colors that I thought would fit in my blanket as a blanket. this one really went with a lot of the colors. It is Zigzag 3007 San Diego. So I thought, and I had 3 of those. And I thought, oh, you know what? I've got a sweater that was one of the first videos I did in this series. And that sweater, I finished it. I've worn it a couple of times, but I'm not gravitating towards it. And it's the yarn. It's the same yarn that I'm now currently using in this blanket. And I thought, you know what? If I can knit a sweater out of that yarn, and I had some left over, I might be able to turn it into a cardigan. A cardigan that people can wear if they happen to come here and think, oh, her house is very cold, because I do leave my house cold. So I started a swatch with this one, with the brown, and it was really, really nice. Feast your eyes on that sweater. I think it featured in the first episode and then again in the second episode, because it was a sweater I'd made and it only needed so little done to it. It was so almost finished. And so I finished it. So that, I think it was the first and the second episode, somewhere around there. I don't know. Anyway, have I worn it? Initially, I've worn it a couple of times, but ever since I've had this sweater and the grey hand-spun sweater, I didn't wear that. And I find it difficult to pinpoint exactly what the problem is. The neck is quite tight to put on. Once it's on, it's fine, but to put on, yeah, it's a bit tight to put on. Once it's on, it's fine. The other thing is I wanted it to be long. I wanted it to be beyond the bum, which it is, and it's got a split hem, so it's not going to kind of stretch and pull and all the rest of it, because it's a relatively fitting garment. So if it's relatively fitting and you make the length to go below your bum, then if you sit down it will stretch and pull and all the rest of it, so hence the split hem. So it wears, when I wear it, it wears fine, and it does what I intended it to do, but it's one of those things, I thought that's what I wanted, and in the end I don't gravitate towards it. Now it might be because I have worn quite a lot of dresses in my spare time, and that's too long to go over the dress. Then all the proportions are gone. Well, they're still there, but it's out of proportion. And so it's over jeans it would be fine, but when I'm sitting here in the house and studying or doing whatever I need to do, I prefer to wear a dress to wearing jeans, or jogging bottoms or whatever, anything that's comfy. And jeans are not necessarily comfy to sit in for a long time. Anyway, there is something else about this sweater, and it doesn't come across on camera, and I don't know why that is the case, but it is superwash wool, and this particular color, because I've got that same wool in loads of different colors, that particular color, when it's knit up, it feels a little bit squeaky. If you would tell me it's a good quality acrylic, I would believe it, which it isn't. It's wool, it's 100% wool, so no acrylic inside. And it's just a bit, I don't know, it's a quality that I don't necessarily how to put that. Now that I've this dress and this sweater and the handspun sweater, I prefer those two over that one. So what to do? Well, if you've been following me for a while now, I told you I have a lot of that that particular type of wool. I was also doing a test knit from a swatch for myself regarding a variegated yarn and a strand of cotton. That project, making the swatch with a variegated yarn and a strand of cotton, gave me the idea to use up the wool I've got with variegated yarn. And I had some variegated yarn, so I started knitting and I created several squares that can slowly become a blanket. And when I was doing this, I was thinking, oh, that looks a bit like the Harry Potter sweaters Molly Weasley is knitting for the kids every year. So one thing led to another, and I thought, well, before I'm going to make a complete blanket's worth of squares out of the wool I've got, why not see if I can turn some of the colors I know I gravitate towards and I know I will like, why not turn them into either sweaters or cardigans that people who are coming to visit can wear, because I keep my house quite cool. I know it's been cold this winter because the heating didn't work, but the heating didn't work, honestly. Elocution, Anneke, elocution. So this winter my house has been really cold, but on the whole I keep it quite cool anyway. Too cool for some people, but when I turn the heating up, you know, I kind of doze off. Doesn't work for me. So in order to keep people comfortable when they visit my house, it's nice if I can just, you know, hand them a sweater or a cardigan that they can wear for the duration and they can stay warm. So again, one thing led to another, and then this sweater came to mind. And I thought, well, that's a lot of wool. So this sweater came to mind, and I thought that's a lot of wool in a sweater that I'm not really wearing. And how about ripping it back and making that particular one into a cardigan? Because if I don't want to wear it because of the squeakiness as a sweater, you know, as a cardigan, it's different. It's not next to skin, and it's different. And don't do others what you don't want to be done to yourself. You know, I don't want to wear this next to skin, so I don't want other people to wear it next to skin either. Having said that, I still had some yarn left, and I started knitting a swatch. This feels much different, so I could actually knit this up in a sweater where it goes like, ah, that's this feels different than that. Weirdly enough, that's 100% wool, and the yarn I'm using to make the variegation is a sock yarn, and it's 75% wool and 25% something fake. I don't know. It's not acrylic. It's most probably polyamide or something like that. Anyway, so that feels kind of squeaky, and this doesn't. Whilst this is the one that contains some artificial fibre. Mind boggled. Yeah, mind boggled. I don't know. I don't know how this happens. Anyway, so I'm going to rip that back, which I'm sure is easier said than done, because by now all the ends have been woven in, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting exercise. But I know that I'm not wearing it, and I know it's, you know, why would it take up space in my in my wardrobe if I'm not wearing it? It's better served somewhere else. So, yeah. What's this space? What's this space? Me ripping it back, me finding enough of this color. Because that's the other thing, isn't it? That weighs 580 something grams. And I want to make it into a cardigan that is well oversized, so that whoever comes can wear it. And it means that it needs to be wider, because this, even though I'm not petite, this is fitting for me, and so it's not oversized. So I need more yarn. I do have more of that yarn, but of this yarn I have 3 balls of 420 meters. 4 balls of 420 meters, which makes 1260 meters of this yarn. What's in there is it's 100 meters per 50 gram, and it's I did the maths. It's about 1200 meters in that right now. But of course, when I start knitting it together, how to put this? I can do more surface with the same amount of yarn. Now I do have extra yarn of that. At the moment, I do not have extra yarn of this, and I have been looking online, haven't found it yet. So at the moment, it's only 3 balls. I will go back to the local store and see if they've got one more ball. You know, one more ball would be amazing. Yes. So that's a bit of an issue, and I think I need to have the extra ball of yarn before I actually start knitting a cardigan. If I can't knit a cardigan, well, at least I can use it in the squares. But I like the color. I like the color of this. I have another bit of footage where I talk about all the squares and the extra yarn I've bought, the extra sock yarn, variegated sock yarn, to knit together with this. I think it's going to be quite a pricey blanket in the end, because that sock yarn that's quite expensive, and I can do either 9 or 10 squares with one of those balls, and 9 squares is almost a meter. Is it? No, not. Not at all. It's half a meter. That's it. Oh yes, I remember. It's half a meter. So 9 squares is half a meter. So for a 1.5 meter wide blanket, I would need 3 balls of the big yarn. That's it. It makes sense in my head. But yeah, half a meter. I've done 20 squares? I think so, 20 squares now. So that's only a fraction. It takes a lot of yarn. Of course, if I would knit them flat, it would take far less yarn, but it's just ribbing. Keep on going. So yeah, that's that at this moment in time. So I wanted an extra one, and I went online. Oh, first went back to the shop. they didn't have it. Then I went online and couldn't find it. Could not find it for love nor money. I've looked at so many sites, couldn't find it. But what I did find was, this is San Diego. What I did find was New York. So they are so closely matched. This is a bit more orangey, and in fact this is nicer. So there was one shop that sold 4 balls of this one, which would be enough. And then which was from, I'm pretty sure this was from abitwoolly.co.uk. Her name is Wendy Baker. I've never met the person, so I've no idea. But they sent me, and I'm pretty sure this was the one that sent me 4 balls. They also sent me which I haven't tried yet. It's a no rinse delicate wash. So I will try that out. It looks like very little in there, so I'm curious how far it will stretch. Anyway, back to this one. So I had 4 balls of this. So I thought, oh, I can start my garment now and I will be fine. And then I started knitting. So I really like the effect. It is, I enjoy it. I enjoy the knitting of it. I enjoy the speckles it creates. I enjoy the stripes that are in there because the sock yarn, those balls, it's sock yarn, self-striping sock yarn. So I enjoy the effect it creates, and I'm happy. But when I had knit this far, I thought, that's how far is my yarn going to stretch? Because yes, this is oversized, but I thought that because I was holding it together with something else, and because I was using a bigger needle, it would, you know, give at least the same surface area, if not a little bit more. And it's not, somehow it's eating yarn, and I'm slightly confused. So I went up this far, and then I thought, and then for some reason the not for some reason the brown yarn that I was working on was running out. So I started the front panels, because this is going to be a cardigan, and I started the front panels 2 at a time, so that at least it would be, the brown yarn would be used up in one go. And I might have to rip it back. I will continue for a bit further, but I might have to rip it back and go a bit smaller, because it doesn't look like I'm going to have enough yarn to make it this oversized. And would be nice if I could actually finish it with sleeves. I didn't intend this to be a body warmer, which it could well be. You know, I could make it a body warmer. That is an idea, but the original intent was for it to be a cardigan. So yeah, one of those things. Whilst I was working on it, and when I also saw that the yarn would go really well with the dark brown I have, I went online again to see if I could find more of the New York. And, you know, one thing led to another, and I ended up, and I have to say it correctly, seasideyarns.co.uk. And originally I asked her for the San Diego one, the lighter version, and which she didn't have. But then she came back to me, she said, I do have New York. Oh, how many do you have? And she's got 3. So I've paid for them. She's got my address and she put it in the mail. So it will arrive today or tomorrow. Today is Monday, the 13th of March. So I'm very happy for, I'm presuming that both of them are smaller shops, independent shops. I'm very happy for them to be online and for them to think outside the box, because my original question was the San Diego, because that was what I was looking for. And then whilst this was developing, my garment was developing. And just because this lady of Seaside Yarns dared to think outside the box and say, well, I may not have this, but I do have that. And it fitted in with what I was doing at the time. That I now have more yarn. It's not necessarily something you would have with big stores, but smaller people, you know, smaller businesses where people depend on their own trade. They might, how to put this? Yeah, for them to actually think along and to offer you an alternative, rather than you know, computer-like going like, this is what you ask, we don't have it, and you may get a sorry added to that. But you know what I mean. But it is it was a very frustrating search, and I'm not really sure how that could be improved. I'm not really sure how a search like that could be improved. It might very well have to do with my searching capabilities on online. Maybe if you've done it more often, that it's easier. I don't know. But I just typed in what I wanted and was waiting for whatever came up in the UK, because I wasn't prepared to do any of the customs forms or extra payment to get it across the border. So there's that. Oh, which reminds me, my mom received her scarf. Yes. She received it on Saturday and she unwrapped it and she was very happy with it and she put it on, and yeah, she's wearing it, and yeah, apparently it was cold. So yes, she enjoys it and is using it. So happy days. So yeah, that's it for this. So this garment has seen 2 iterations already. The first iteration was with the San Diego, and the second iteration is now with the New York. I prefer the look of the New York, which is which is really lucky, because that's what I have most of. That's what I have most of the yarn of the New York, and more is on the way. But I might have to rip it back and shrink it a bit. So we'll see. My blanket is still going, but with this change of idea of, oh, well, maybe I can start making garments first and then see whatever is left of it. I'm not working on that one in particular. So currently this is my only active whip. The grey collar which was going to be a top-down sweater. I'm going to edge it and maybe start the sweater from the bottom up, so it's in 2 parts. We'll see about that. Don't hold your breath. So that's it. Knitting wise, I'm so curious how this sweater is going to turn out, and if I have enough yarn, because to get an oversized body you also need oversized sleeves, so the sleeves are going to be quite a bit bigger than the sleeves of the sweater. When it was a sweater, it was the top was a fitted sleeve and then it was straight, but it being oversized now, I'll need quite a bit more yarn. And yeah, I think that once I've knitted up the front to the same size as the back, I will weigh it. I will do some math wizardry to see how much yarn is in it and how much yarn I still need to finish the garment. And if that's a no, then I'll rip it back. Right, so as far as knitting goes, that's it. Life is good. Let's put like with like and not get the yarns crossed. Life is good. It's interesting. So at the moment I'm working 3 physically demanding jobs rather than mentally demanding jobs. It is where I am at this moment in my life. I wouldn't want a mentally demanding job at this moment in time. The physically demanding jobs are hard enough, and I'm getting paid to get fit, so that's good. It also means that I go to bed very, 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 very early, and there are times when I should have time and I just kind of go like, no. No, it's a no. I need to go to bed, and find myself in bed at the weirdest times just because I can't concentrate on anything else. And that is fine. The other thing I'm doing is I did pick up my studies again, and my exam will be not this Friday but next Friday, Saturday. So that's where my mental capacity is going at the moment. And yeah, that's interesting. I'm stopping here. It's been an hour. I'm hanging up. Have an amazing week, and yeah, we will catch up again. I don't think in 2 weeks' time, because that's when my exam is. But we will see. We will see how it pans out. Have a lovely time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.